All right, everybody, let's break down this featured bout on the main card of this UFC Fight Night, where we have a top 15 lightweight contender in Faraz Ziam taking on an unranked challenger in Tom Nolan in this featured bout. And let's break down the tale of tape. Let's see here. We got Tom Nolan has 11 fights, 10-1 against Faraz Ziam, 18-4. 22 fights to 11. He has double the martial arts experience than his opponent. He has a 2-inch height disadvantage, though. Usually Ziam is the taller fighter, but Tom is 6'3" in this comparison. And 3 years age difference. Tom's 3 years younger, 2 years in reach. So it's funny that Varas has the 2-inch height disadvantage but has the 2-inch reach advantage. Orthodox, we got a Southpaw and Tom Nolan. That'll be interesting. All right, now let's move on, shall we? Now let's see the ranked fighter, of course, Faraz Ziam. Let's see what breaks down what makes him such a good fighter. So he trains, look at this, with all the killers at Killcliff FC down there in Deerfield Creek, Florida. And also has come down on this neck of the woods and trained with Justin Gaethje and Kamaru Usman at Grudge Training Center. So let's look at his UFC debut against Don Madge in 2022. He would lose via unanimous decision, and that's obviously a horrible way to go out in your debut, but not the only loss he would suffer, unfortunately. But his record lately has speaks for itself that he has been now on a 6-fight win streak since taking his second loss, unfortunately, to Terrence McKinney. As I said, Terrence McKinney would submit him in the first round via rear naked choke, and this would be his second loss and his last in the UFC before going on his 6-fight win streak, which would start by beating Mikhail Figlock, yes, by unanimous decision. Then beating Jay Herbert by unanimous decision as well. And then a split decision over Claudio Puelles, 3 decisions back to back to back. But then finally, he breaks his decision streak by knocking out Matt Frivola into the shadow realm with the high knee from hell. And then also beating Mike Davis by unanimous decision. And then lastly, his previous bout before this weekend, he defeated Nazem Sadikov via second round TKO, elbows and punches, ladies and gentlemen. And yep, that's how he did it. Just crumbled, folded under pressure with 2 seconds to go in the second round. Now let's look at his best wins. Three of them, 3-2-1. Third best win, Jai, the Black Country Banger Herbert. Now, at the time, I know this record does not look as impressive, but let's break it down, shall we? First gets a win off of Kama Worthy, knocking him out in the first round, getting an easy, quick finish bonus. And then he would go on to face Ilia Topuria in a featured main card bout at UFC Fight Night London. And he would head kick, drop Ilia Topuria on his ass. And then, unfortunately, in the second round, he would get right hooked into the shadowest part of hell and would be folded like a lawn chair and unfortunately would lose to Ilia Topuria. But then he bounces back and beats Kyle Nelson via unanimous decision, as we all know. Ilia Topuria is the 2-division featherweight lightweight champion. And then he would have a majority draw against Ludovic Klein. So then after this, he gets a unfortunately unanimous decision loss to the ranked top 15 lightweight contender Faraz Ziam. Now his second most impressive win, Matt Frivola. So Matt was 2-1 before heading into his fight with Faraz after knocking out Otman Azaitar and then also knocking out Drew Dober by sending him straight to the canvas in the first round, mind you. Top 15 lightweight contender knocks him out, and then he has to fight Benoit Saint Denis, and unfortunately, he trades his ranking spot with the God of War because he caught him evading and head kicked him into the hellish part of the Shadow Realm. And then followed up by getting back-to-back knocked out by Benoit Saint Denis and Faraz Ziam. That has to suck for Matt Frivola. Steamroller. And then we get to his most impressive win, Nazem Sadikov, and also is a training partner of the aforementioned Matt Frivola earlier. His record coming to the UFC after winning his Contender Series bout, he was 6-1, so he would make his debut against Evan Elder, which the fight would stop at the third round via doctor stoppage with the cut below the or above the eye. and Nazem Sadykhov would win his UFC debut. Then he would go on to beat Terrence McKinney, who we all know choked out Faraz Ziam earlier in his career, and he choked out Terrence McKinney for Nazem Sadykhov. And then he had a majority draw with Slavakaz Vyacheslav Borshev, had another decision win over, or no, this is a doctor stoppage, two doctor stoppage wins for Nazem Sadykhov against Ishmael Bonfim in this second one. And now we get to the fight where he has a fight of the year candidate with Nicholas Mota in his home country of Azerbaijan, and he gets dropped by Mota in the first round and comes back and finishes him to win fight of the night honors absolutely, and then got considered fight of the year. What a bloody war. But then after this fight, he would have to get match up against Fares Ziam, and he would lose, as I mentioned, second round TKO, elbows and punches. Now let's look at Fares's opponent this weekend, the 10-1 aforementioned Tom Nolan. Training at a Team Compton Training Center, and this is in Australia, so he's got a huge amount of training partners to roll with and to spar with. But now let's look at his record. There's it in complete display: 10 wins, 1 loss. And he made his UFC, before he made his debut, he came off the Contender Series beating Bogdan Grad, who was also a UFC fighter today. Beat him by first round knockout, sending him just straight with that punch down to the freaking grill. And then, unfortunately, he would lose his debut fight against Nicholas Mota, who we saw earlier fight against Nazem Sadykhov, and he would fold Nolan very early in the first round, within the first minute or so. And then finally, he gets his UFC first win after beating Victor Martinez first round TKO. Referee has to separate them. And then he gets another back-to-back victory over beating Alex Reyes by unanimous decision. Also beating another former opponent we've seen earlier, Vyacheslav Borshev. And then topping it off by beating Charlie Campbell by first round submission rear naked choke. And yes, we're going through his best 3 wins. I would say Bogdan Grad, even though he's a Contender Series win, he's one of his best victories because he is still in the UFC today and has already a victory in the UFC as well, by beating Lucas Alexander by second round TKO, folding him, making him quit. Yep, sitting on the stool, wondering what did I do with my life. And then he's fighting Dennis Bazucha, who is one of, hilariously, Nazem Sadykhov and Matt Frevola's teammates. And then second best win would probably be Charlie Campbell, because Charlie's still in the UFC himself, and Charlie has 2 victories on his part. And then his best victory, even though he's cut from the UFC officially, Vyacheslav Borshev, an always tough fighter in his career, with Uriah Faber in the corner, mind you. 3 wins back to back. Always impressive too. Like, look how he knocked the dude out, sent him to the Shadow Realm, and then gets to do the Slavakaz dance. Very nice. And then also, mind you, his Contender Series win was a victory over top 15 ranked lightweight contender today, Chris Duncan. Unfortunately for Tom Nolan, having 11 fights compared to your opponent's 22, you're on a 4-fight win streak. He's on a 6-fight win streak. I'm going with second round TKO. Just like, I think Nazem Sadykhov is a better opponent than Tom Nolan, if you ask me. I think that's a great matchup for Tom if he loses his fight tomorrow after it's all said and done. And for us, he deserves to be challenging top 15 opponents since he's in the rankings. So he's going to prove that he deserves to be in the rankings. And Tom Nolan, not quite yet.